So I bolted the return tube on that comes from the Rockaboxy cyclone separator. I put a new O-ring on here. Put a bit of oil on. Most importantly, we're going to put some oil in here. Now it'll probably leak back, but well, you can't do anything about that. But that's for your oil pump. Right, let's get that onto there. It's down there like that, look. Then we'll bolt that down. And then we'll get the two little nuts, the two little bolts from here. Sorry, I've had a sneezing fit. And then we'll torque these down, alright, and then I'll come back because I want to tell you something about this tube. Right, this cyclone separator here has got crankcase vent coming out of here, and it's supposed to swirl its way around, and the air comes out of here that's sucked into your air intake, and the oil drops down into here. Well, this here is connected to this here. Now my theory is, I might be wrong, but on older engines, I'm wondering if if you've got back pressure, that the back pressure is forcing on the oil. Now imagine this is upside down, it's forcing on the oil, which will force it back up this tube. So I wonder if that's why these don't work very well. It'll only work on when they're new, when they've got no back pressure, because the rings are buggered. I don't know, see what you think, I don't know, write to me. Well, not write to me, but put it in the comments. Right, next, what are we going to do next? I think that's it for now. This is still a bit soft, so I'm going to wait till that dries. I could put the seal on. Oh, I'll tell you what, let's measure the pistons. That'll be fun, won't it? The height of the piston protrusion. Land Rover Land, we have a problem. Can any of you in the UK remember Max Bygraves and his deck of cards? You know, it was a song he had about a soldier with a deck of cards. Well, I've got something very similar here. A pack of Victorines gaskets. Now I seem to remember in a video once I said that I bought all 3 gaskets. I got a single hole, I got a 2 hole, and I also got a 3 hole. And what does this need, this engine down here? This engine here is 0.9 of a millimetre, which needs a 0 hole. It doesn't need any holes, and it's the thickest gasket, and I haven't got one. Isn't that amazing? I've never fitted one, but I guess when they've decked it down a bit, I bet there was a bit of a warpage in this block somehow. So now what do we do? What are we going to do now? Those gaskets weren't cheap either. I'm going to have to do a special order for a gasket. Bugger. I've never used as you know, as a no hole head gasket, and I never thought that we'd need it until today. So I don't know what to do now. I could put the sump on, I suppose. Put the rear crank seal in. Put the fuel pump on. Put the front cover on. Yeah, let's do that. I'll make a note of this, and I'll have to order one up. I'll have to talk to the owner. That's a bit more time it's going to take, but hey, what can I do? You know, I think these gaskets were kind of expensive, but it's a gamble, isn't it? Right, back in the bit. Just goes from bad to worse today. I thought I'd get the cover out here, because we had to get a new one, because all this was all corroded. We couldn't do anything with it. And also the pipe stub, which is ironically missing from here, that was corroded too, so well, now what do I do? I haven't got anything. I can't use it. So I'm going to put this on and hope for the best. Just keep building and building until we get somewhere. These are nice castings. I think these came from Turkey as well. Everything made in Turkey. God, what an international engine, isn't it? Right, so let me get a P gasket. I don't believe it. I honestly do not believe it. It's made my day. We've actually got a new water pump and it's made in the UK. Unbelievable. I think this is the only thing that's on this car that's made in the UK. A British engine, it's international, isn't it? I've chose the ProFlow water pumps from Britpart. These are not your Chinese ones. Is that a warranty? Ooh. It just looks the same to me. The same as a Chinese one. How would you know? How would you know where it was made? They never put anything on it. I bet it's a Chinese one. It's got a number on it, but yeah. I'm just trying to think what I used to use in the UK, and it's a funny name. I'll think of it in a minute. So I'm going to put that pump on. I'll put this pump on first. Bolt that down. Put some Hylamar around the. Well, you can't see, can you? What are you looking at me for? I'll put this on here. Bonk that onto there. This is going to be a really good engine because there's so much new stuff. It's almost like a new engine. We'll put that pump on, and then we can put the long 3 bolts through. We'll just put them on loose, if you see what I mean. I'm going to clean the bolts up, and then we can put this on. Just in the meantime, for viewers who don't know what the hell I'm on about, I'll show you the old bits. This is the old water pump. You can see this is the results of not using any coolant or anti-corrosive stuff, and it's a bit rough. So that's kaput. And this is the cover here. Now a good man with a TIG welder will be able to weld that up, but I ain't got a good man with a TIG welder at the moment. I've got a TIG welder, I haven't got it fired up yet. And anyway, the time it would take me to do all this, cut this and mess about and flitting about, and then you've got more corrosion on the inside. So that's the reason why we're doing it. It has got a fitting on there. Oh, you can't see me, can you? What the hell is going on today? It's turning into be one of those weeks. It has got a fitting on there, but I'll tell you something, it's so thin by the time I get it out, it'll just collapse. So let's put this together, let's clean some bolts up, put it together, and then we'll put this piece on. We should be able to assemble something today, I hope. So I'll put some Loctite sealer while we've got it open onto this P gasket. I've put some Hylamar around here. The bolts are not tight yet, and I've put anti-seize on all of these bolts just in case. Now we're going to fit it on. Now I've already tapped out these holes, so they should be pretty good. Oh, wait a minute, I've still got the nut on. Take that off. Right, which one is it now? What one? That one. There we go. Start to look like a TDI now, eh? So what I'm going to do now is tighten all these bolts down evenly and put the little nut on here. I don't think you really need to know that. I think that's quite self-explanatory. Right, so I'm just sort of wasting time now putting on bits and pieces that I don't need to put on, but they have to go on at some time. I'm going to put on the injector pump. Now these bolts were missing out of here. These have got the later type of fittings, which is a sliding bush, which is very good. I just think my nuts and bolts are a bit small. Yeah, they're too small. Oh well, I'll have to get some longer bolts. And I don't think I've got any. I'll have to have a look. But when you're putting nuts and bolts on, unless the nylon isn't covering like it's sticking out 2 or 3 threads in, it's a waste of time, because then it's just, if it's just like that, well, it's not very good at all, is it? So let me see if I can find some bolts. Then I can put on what? I don't know. Oh, we'll put the sump on, I suppose. We'll put these timing gears on, we can do that. Until I'm running out of things to do it. These should be more like it. Ah, that's better. Take that one out of there. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put them through the other way, because if anybody has to take this pump off, they're a bugger to get these bottom bolts in. It's easier if it goes in this way and you can just put a nut on from here. That's going to be easy. Nut. Now, I don't know if I'm going to tighten these up yet, I don't know. Probably. Yeah, we'll tighten those bolts up, those 3 bolts, then we'll have a look at the front. That's right. 25 newton meters, I'm going to double check it. I'll just use a little shaft and jam the teeth against that bolt there, and it seems to be good. That's alright. Right, next thing, we'll put the pulley on. The pulley's new, it comes with the kit. Now, these are something to pay attention to. Some of the pulleys are not made quite right. You see, this has got a nice rounded corner here. If you get ones that's got a nice square, you know, purely square, well, take it down to your machine shop and get it rounded off, because when you put the seal in, and when you put this onto the seal, it can cut the outer rubber, the dust rubber, and what happens is let's see if I can hold it like this. The rubber goes underneath here, and it can rip and leak oil out. It's kind of important. Now, what I've already done here, I've got an oil O-ring ready. I'm going to put the O-ring on. It's very important. I don't know why, but it's very important. Now we're going to put some oil on here and on the shaft. So make it, this seal is an OEM seal, so it's already greased up, but we want to make sure everything is nicely lubed. Now I'm just going to do this. I don't think I'll get the timing right because I can't put my pins on with this machine, but it's just something to do. We've got to do it sometime, might as well do it now. Right, where's the keyway? Alright, not going to go on. There we go. Right, I'll have to hit that with a tapping stick if I've got one. Where's my hammer? Back in the bin, you know it. I had to stop the video and redo this timing belt because it didn't come out quite well because the angles were all wrong, but I hope you can see this a little bit better now. So, one of the things that comes in the kit is a new stud, so we put 2 nuts on, double nut them together, and I'm just going to put a little bit of Loctite on the thread. We're going to screw it in. Now, I realise now why they give you a longer stud. So let's get this started. If we can. There we go. So let's wind that down. You don't want to over tighten these, it'll strip it out, that's the problem. I think that's all it's going to get. So now we'll take that nut off. That stud off. Come on. It's quite tricky to get your spanner in there. So that's in. Next thing. Oh, what's the difference? Why is there a longer stud? This was the nut originally on that bolt, that stud, and this is what's going on, a nylock one. Alright, so first of all, we're going to put the pulley on, like this. Just a little nip, because then we're going to put this one on. And for now, what are we going to use? Where's that nut gone? Oh yeah, the nut is actually taller than the original nut. Oh. Make sure that's in there. And just give it a little tighten up. And then, this one here, we're going to give that a little tighten up. We're not torquing them down at the moment, we're just giving them a nip, because once that's now tightened up, I'm going to take this back off again. Why? Why are you doing it like that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. This is in its lowest position. There isn't much adjustment on the TDI to get this belt on. It's a real pain. We'll take that off, and then that's locked in place, if you see what I mean, so it can't go anywhere. So putting our belt on is pretty easy. Now, I put the crank bolt in, but behind it I've just put a spacer so we don't have to put it in too far. So now, on the top of the engine, because we haven't got the timing, the adapter plate on where the pin goes in, we're just going to use a DTI, and we found out top dead centre. So there's the piston coming up. So there's the piston coming up. Up, 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 up. Peak, and back down again. So then we average that out, which happens to be right in the groove of this pulley here. So the camshaft, the crankshaft key lines up with a little arrow on here. That was easy, wasn't it? Next, I'm going to take a 22mm key, not that one, and we're going to insert the timing pin in here, the pull, like that. Back off the bolts so the pulley is loose, right? And now I've just dropped that belt in some oil, so I'm going to just clean this up. With the belt cleaned up, we're going to fit it. This is a Deco belt. Made in Italy, so we'll add that to our list of this International. I've Loctited and tightened up this pulley, this camshaft bolt, by putting a bolt or something in here, tightening it up to the specific torque, which was in the last video and I've forgotten. Now we can fit the belt. We just put it on rough. And you can see probably why I don't take that pulley off. Oh, there goes my piece of paper. I'll have to stick that back on. That didn't stick very well, did it? There's a little paper gasket that goes on here. I mentioned about that, but it's to balance out the pressure of the gasket, because the gasket here, if you, this isn't deep enough for some reason, and they put a gasket on it. I don't know why, but anyway. That's what they do. Right, this is a bit tricky. So we want to make sure that pulley's on there. And this is going to go around here. Like this is this. This is this. There. Now that moved a tiny hair, but it's not too bad. But round here at the bottom of the crank, there we are. That's good. That's onto there. That's onto there, that's nice. That's nice. Now, with a bit of luck, we can take our pulley, pop it on, Yeah, no, that timing's good. It's most important when you're doing all these timing marks to look on it at 90 degrees. Even if it's in the car, when you're looking down like this, you can actually be a tooth out. So it's a good idea, and I use a mirror to look into this so it's absolutely dead square. So I'm just going to nip that. We aren't going to torque it quite yet. The next stage involves getting my, where's it gone? Must have been tidied up, Deborah was tidying up the other day. Get the torque wrench, or the inch meter, and we're going to measure 11 Newton meters on here, this little square. So this is the tool I'm going to use. I've got it stuck now, there we go. It's a very old inch pounds meter, but it's 97 inch pounds if you've got one of these old boys here. And so we're going to undo this, or slacken off this bolt here, this Allen bolt, slack it off, and then we're going to put some tension on that belt. 97 inch pounds is not much at all. Look, it's not much, is it? So we're going to tighten it up, just nip it. We're going to then nip these bolts up here. With those bolts nipped up, I'll just give them a little nip with a spanner. I haven't torqued them down yet. That's it. You can see the belt moving. Right? So what we're going to do now is take this off, and turn it. Oh, I've still got a bloody pin in. Turn it. That was tight. I wonder how many people have done that and tried to start them. So we're getting that concentrating. You need the vac pump working, eh? Strangely enough, it is working. One of the rarest things. I'm going to keep going. Oh! Now I should be coming up to our mark, coming up to here. Get ready with your pin. In. Alright, next. So we've turned it to one full turn. We get our two full turns, and you can see how slack that belt's got now, you see, because there's tension on that now. So what we're going to do is put the gauge in again, if it will. Back off this here, and then turn it up to 97, and you could see the slack come out of that. That's why it's important to turn them over. Alright, so that's on there. That's what it should be. A lot of people really buggered up TDIs by really reefing up these belts, and the problem is, what happens is if you tighten them up too much, I'm going to turn that pin up. What happens is that you will put tension on this camshaft bushing and push it, sort of pull it down, which makes a big groove in the bottom of the bushing, and also the injector pump will try and go this way, and you can bugger up the bushing inside there. So Land Rover took it down from 15 Newton meters to 11, and also I think it eliminates the belts riding forward a bit. So I'm happy with that. I got that out. I'm going to turn it once more. Am I? When do we start? Here it is. Don't worry if this makes clicky noises, that's the injector pump working. That's another turn. Oh, I think do you know something? I think I'm going to retighten that again, just to make sure. But I've just gone off the line for the pump, so. Funny old noise, isn't it? Ah, missed it again. Doesn't matter. I'll turn it around again. There. That's in there. That's lined up there. That's lined up there. The top gauge is correct. So we'll back this off again. Get our gauge out, back this off, there we go, and that should be good. Again, I'll torque these up with some special spanners once I, you know, well, I'm just going to nip them up to now so they don't move, and there we go. We can check that against the top dead centre. That's good. That's good. That's excellent. So I'm happy with that. Like I said, the next thing is to torque down these bolts here. We'll give these a proper torquing down as well. And that's the timing belt on. Couldn't be simpler, could it? But the reason why I do it like that, because you have a hell of a job trying to get the belt on and trying to keep everything so in line. So if you tighten this one up and take this idler off here, that means that you can then push against the belt and then slip it forward. It works, honestly, it really works. Well, you saw it, there was no tears doing that, eh? Right, let's get that tightened up, and I think then we'll put the front cover on. Now, there may be a bit of a continuity error here, because I was talking to myself when the camera was off. Anyway, the reason why I put a new cover on this motor, the bearing is dry. Now, could I rebuild it? Well, the bearing isn't readily available, but you can get one. It's an SKF bearing. But the problem is, this pulley, I think, is made of cast iron. It's got a left-hand thread on it. It's very easy to break while you're pulling it off, if you see what I mean. And as anybody who's over-tightened these bolts here, they're very easy to strip and crack this little bracket across here. I didn't want to do that. And once upon a time I went down to JP and we made one. We made a new pulley bracket here, you know, this bit. But you can't buy them, you have to make them. Well, by the time I buy a bearing, by the time I pay JP to make me a pulley, you might as well put another cover on. So, that's kaput. I always put thread guard on these. I tighten them down and torque them down. Also, when I came to do... Oh, and the gasket, all I did was held it on with a bit of Hylamar and put it on. And this centre bolt here, remember it was a little round washer? It just look, that's actually the backing of it, that thing. Stuck it back on, and that will level out the this cover so it's not going to bow. Next thing, I put the pulley on. And what I did was I used my old Dremel again, because I painted this and I got paint on the inside and it needs to be really nice and clean. So use that. With your finger in this aluminium anti-seize, just a little bit on the nose of the crank, slips on beautifully, no problem at all. So, and this isn't tightened up yet, but I'll mention that later. I think we've got that covered. I hope you can understand it, but I'm not going to take it all to bits again. Right, back to the video. So with the cover in place, I don't know where I am with this video now because I left the damn thing running. What we're going to do is go back to the old Haynes book, because everybody's sort of got a copy of this. And there's the pattern for the bolts, because they're all different lengths. So I usually put them in a basket, like a chicken in a basket, and then I put them through the soda blaster and clean up the bolts. And what we're going to do is we're going to work off this plan here to find the lengths of the bolts, because there's some long ones and there's some not so long ones. I'm going to be putting some thread guard on them. You don't really have to, but it makes life a lot easier when you're taking them back out again. So let me get this done. We'll look at this one for example here. I'm using my fantastic Britrest ruler. It was my Christmas gift from 5 years ago. Now they don't even bother with that, they just send you a card now. So that's 110. 110 goes in E, which is here. And, wait a minute, where's 110? Here. Alright? And also, does it go anywhere else? No. So, let's work those out and we'll come back because that's kind of tedious. Well, I couldn't be bothered going upstairs to find out the correct pattern to tighten these up with, but I'm going to just use a logical crisscross pattern, and it's 25 Newton meters each. Bit boring, isn't it? I'll skip recording it. Right, since I saw you last, I've put the pulley bolts in the water pump and in the fan bearing pulley thing. Now I'm going to fit the cover on the timing pump. This is for some reason they've got a metal gasket on there. I never quite worked out why. I've blasted with the soda blaster all the bolts, and you may think, oh well, dear me, they're going to go rusty very quickly. Well, I'm going to put some crown rust proofing on them. That seems to work really well. I shall show you. The paint's a bit sticky still because I forgot to do it, but I'm not a professional. It'd be nicer with new bolts in, but well, we haven't got any. That's that one. Again, I'm always keen on putting thread guard on things, because it might be me who has to take it off again one day. The thread guard's pretty cheap. I just use the aluminium thread guard, I don't use anything special. I once had an argument with Britpart thinking that metal gasket doesn't fit on the exhaust, you know, like in the exhaust manifold. And they said, no, it doesn't fit there, it doesn't fit there. And I said, well, where the hell does it go? Because most of the times I've taken these covers off, the gasket's been missing. Yeah, it's just so if you're ordering a gasket set, you need to get a manifold, you know, the 3-bolt manifold gasket, separately for some bizarre reason. I don't know why. Put all sorts of rubbish in the gasket sets, and half the time we don't need them. How are you hovering on this? Go on. In a minute, I'll back in a minute. Can't get the socket off. I don't like that. Too small for 25 Newton meters in my opinion. I'm just going to snug them up. I mean, they're not doing anything, are they? Oh, there we go. Ooh, no. Play safe. I don't know why that is, but maybe the Turkish man was having a day off. Now, I haven't tightened up the pulley bolt yet. And that's why I have put the sump on. So I can block the crank and then sort of refit up a bit. That's the reason why. So, I can't put the... Oh, could I? I could put the tensioner on, but I think this video has gone on quite long enough. We've got the power steering pump is still attached to the car. The alternator is looking bad. It's going to really show this engine up. It's really going to be looking awful. but nothing I can do about that. So that'll wrap that up until we get the head gasket. See you later.